This week we're talking about how emergencies reveal the status of your community. Now, the only way I know how to tell you about this is by sharing some pretty hard stories about what's gone on in my life and how God has used these emergency situations in order to show me the status of my community and even to show me a path towards developing a stronger community. I hope it's helpful to you. Stick around. Whew, man. I have a infant in my house right now. She decided to not sleep very much. So if I sound nasally and congested, it's because I'm nasally and congested and I didn't sleep that much last night. But that doesn't stop me from wanting to share with you something that I have learned, and it's taken me 8 years to learn it. It's going to be a story, and I'm sure you can tell from the title of this video that it's going to be about emergency situations in my life and how they revealed my community to me. Now, this is really important for a couple of reasons. First of all, before we get into the story, I think it's important to remember that in order to improve our community, in order to improve the quality of our community, we first have to be very honest with the current status of our community. And so that's why I'm going to be very vulnerable and tell you this pretty personal story about my wife and I and what God has done in our lives, and show some of the bad and some of the good, and try to show you kind of how my goal over the course of all of these videos is to show you how to build a better community in your own life and in your own circumstances. And maybe some of the stuff that we did will work for you. Maybe some of the stuff we did won't work for you. And that's okay. But I'm here to help. And I do believe that you can have a better community. And I do believe that you can have some impact on creating that better community. And so that's what I'm here for. That's what I'm here to resource you and to help you out and to help you to do that well. So let's get into the story. 8 years ago, I was at a church, and my wife and I went to this church, and we decided that we were going to be there for 2 years. My parents wisely told me that it had been their experience when they were young and married and no kids, or young kids, that if whenever they moved around, it took 2 years to really establish relationships. And so I was working at this church, and it was great, and everything was going well on the ministry side of things, and we had some successes in building relationships. And long story short, my wife and I ended up having miscarriage and losing a baby. And I did not handle it well. And this was right at the end of 2 years at this church. And I realized that I had not spent the time to create a culture, to create a community around myself that could help me during an emergency and a tragedy like that. I just shut down. I just kept plugging away with work and just did my best to avoid emotionally what was going on the inside. But what it did was it really shone a light on my life and my relationships and how I was trying to pursue relationships and friendships at the time. And I didn't really get it either. I knew that I didn't have like a really strong support group that I could lean on. And I thought that it was just because it wasn't there, like the church didn't provide that for me. And so I probably spent some time blaming the church for that, which is wrong, because I could have done some stuff in order to establish better relationships. So after 2 years, and with that inciting incident, my wife and I decided to casually look for another job ended up finding another job in another town, moved there, and it's this church where I've been now for over 6 years. And recently, this past month has been crazy, absolutely been crazy. I stabbed my foot with a piece of broken glass. That's what started everything. And then my wife, who was 8 months pregnant, got COVID, and we all were quarantined. And then so we were, I'm a worship leader, and so I had 2 Sundays because of how spaced out we all got COVID. I couldn't get into work, and so I missed 2 Sundays because of that. And then I had worked most of a week, and then on Saturday night she went into labor with our 4th child, and so I missed 2 more Sundays. And then she had complications after giving birth, and so her recovery has been slow. And so this literally 4 weeks, a whole month, we have just absolutely been put through the ringer, and it's been one emergency situation after another. Our community at this church has been so far beyond what I could have imagined 6 years ago when I left the other one. We have had more meals delivered to our house. We have had toys dropped off for our children. We've had Amazon packages randomly show up with stuff and educational things for our kids. We've had phone calls and text messages and people just showering us with love after a month's worth of just crisis situation after crisis situation. And it has really revealed to me the quality, the high quality of our community that we have at this church. So what was it? What was the difference? There are a lot of things, okay? One of the main things that I changed about myself in order to start establishing a better community was actually through a challenge of my pastor for me to take more people out to lunch and take more people out to coffee within the church in order to get to know them. And so that's what started it. And then after a long time, I realized that even on Sunday mornings, I felt such a strong pressure in order to talk to as many people as I could in order to build relationships, because I was hungry for relationships, that I was like a hummingbird, those little sugar junkies, like going to one person after another, trying to talk to as many people as I could. What that left me doing was talking at really superficial levels with a lot of people. So what I changed was whoever I talk to, I just stay with them on a Sunday morning, and I really invest in one person at a time. And I don't worry about trying to get to talk to all of the other people. Even though my time is limited, even though that might be the only time of the week that I'll see those people, I wasn't investing in any one relationship or any one person to the fullest extent. And what that was communicating to those people was that the next person that I was going to talk to is more important than them. And so when I stopped and I actually sat down and had real conversations with people on Sunday mornings, and then throughout the course of the week while having lunches and sitting across from people, looking them in their eyes, doing things with other people, being the bigger person to invite other people to go work out or to go on a walk, or families to come over for dinner, where we could have real conversations, where we could walk through life with each other. That, over the course of 6 years, is what it took to build my community. So, I don't want it to take 6 years for you to be able to build a better community. I don't think it has to take 6 years. I think it can take as short as 2 years, but I also think it can take even shorter amounts of time than that in order to begin to see actual progress in building a stronger and a better church community that produces a kingdom culture. So that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to help you to do that much faster and with way less mistakes than I made. Now, in order to do that, the best thing that you can do is to know where to start. And so I've developed this thing. It's called a connection assessment. It's a PDF. You can print it off. And it just helps you to identify the current status of your community. It tells you exactly how to use it, what to expect. There are no grades in it. There's just a bunch of questions, and your answers, honest answers to these questions, will reveal to you hopefully some weak parts of your community where you can then invest yourself into creating a better community and a better culture for the sake of the kingdom. I hope that's super helpful to you, and I hope that you are able to implement some of these things. And I'll give you a little hint, if you download the connection assessment that's linked in the description below, I'll also send you another free gift as well that will give you some actionable steps in order to take in order to really see your community change, maybe even in as little time as 1 month. Here pretty soon we're going to be walking through that together. So I hope you stick around. Thank you for joining me today, and we'll see you next week.